My name is Amanda, and I want to welcome you to Kelley Century Ranch. It's hard to believe that just over a year ago, this was just a dream. But let's go back just a little bit to tell you how we even got here. My husband Jacob worked in law enforcement for the last 20 years, and I worked in healthcare. Jacob was even a police chief, and I had been promoted from the clinic to leadership in corporate. We lived in a big house in town. We had good careers, and by all accounts, had made it. But what was it all for? We were miserable. We were searching for something, but what? We didn't know. We spent an entire year working our tails off to get out of debt. We didn't know what was next for us, but we knew it would be drastic and we had to get out of debt to take a risk. But then in 2019, Jacob's dad was diagnosed with cancer and passed away pretty quickly. It's in times like this that remind us how short life is. This fueled our desire for something more, a quieter life. Around this time, things at the PD and law enforcement in general began to spiral down. It's like nothing was the same anymore. We started looking for land. We drove countless back roads, set Zillow notifications on our phone, all in hopes that something, anything we could afford would come up. It didn't. We were saving money, but it wasn't enough for what we wanted. Land was stupid expensive. Then we had this crazy thought, and I mean crazy. I'm really excited about something, guys. We have been thinking about purchasing some investment type properties for a while now. And today we took the big leap, and so we purchased a property. It's a lot, it's an empty lot. What if we bought a small lot, built a house using cash we had saved, and sold that house for a profit? We decided to go for it. On February 21st, 2020, we paid cash and closed on a small lot near our home with big dreams to quick as we could build and flip this house so we could finally afford the small farm of our dreams. Little did we know that in less than 2 weeks, the entire world would start shutting down. I got laid off from my job and building materials skyrocketed. So I didn't know who to contact. Like, I was out of resources and ideas and I didn't know what to do. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start researching some things and I'm going to make progress every single day. Like, I'm going to do something. Contractors were months and even years out. We were going to have to do this ourselves. We were in over our heads. We had never built anything, at least not to this scale before. Months would go by before we could even break ground. We hired some of our friends to help us get it dried in. Then we were on our own. In the fall of 2022, we finally closed. During this time, Jacob's mom had begun to struggle to keep up the farm. It was hard for her to do it all on her own. She is the hardest working woman I know, but it was just too much. And we couldn't help much being hours away. It hadn't been our plan to move back. We were going to buy land near where we lived, and Jacob was going to slowly retire from police work. That had been our plan, but it wasn't God's. More and more, we felt Him leading us home. Every turn pointed us to this path. Every piece of land didn't feel like home, like the homestead did. We thought, we prayed, and all the while never daring to mention the idea to Jacob's mom in fear of getting her hopes up. Finally, we had the conversation, and she cried when we told her. The very last day of 2022, Jacob officially retired from law enforcement, and the beginning of 2023, we began the dream of building our farm. Before Jacob's dad had passed, his parents had given us a section of land where the original homestead had once sat over 100 years ago. The first thing we needed to do was to convert an old metal barn we had to a tiny house. Our original thought was we would build a tiny house in the barn to live in while we built our permanent home. But after being in that tiny house for a while, we decided we really liked it. And we decided it would be a lot easier just to build on later. It was a cold winter building that tiny house, but by spring, we were ready to move in. With the arrival of spring came a whole host of new projects. It was a bit like drinking out of a fire hose. We had so much we wanted to do all at once. We tilled our garden spot and started our first garden here on the farm. The soil was not great. And honestly, between the other building projects, me starting a new job, and not being able to find local compost, the first garden suffered. I'm thankful for what little we were able to harvest. And I told Jacob that my only goal for 2024's garden is to suck less. Speaking of bad soil, we had the hay field tested, and we have a long way to go to get it to where it needs to be. It hadn't been fertilized in years. We fertilized in hopes that for a better hay harvest in the summer. We built a chicken coop, and along with our 2 chickens that we had brought with us, we added a flock of day-old chicks. Okay, so we're into town to get a few things, and I did sell 2 animals, 2 baby bunnies yesterday, so the only logical solution was to buy 6 new animals today. Right?
That's how math works.
Hi, babies. They say chickens are the gateway animal, so you know what's coming next. We brought our rabbits to the farm from our old home, and we had our very first litter of tiny baby bunnies to be born here on the farm. After that, I really wanted goats. We bought our first 2 goats and then added a few more later. We built a makeshift house for the goats. I led that building project, and let's just say we'll leave the next one to Jacob. We added quail and even hatched our very first eggs in the incubator. Watching those little eggs hatch gives me so much joy, and I pretty much camp out right by the incubator while they hatch. Near the end of spring, we were able to accomplish something several generations in the making. Behind our property is an additional 22 acres. Over the years, Jacob's family has always wanted to purchase this section of land as our farm kind of makes an L shape around it. We met with the owners of the land in a small cafe and explained our family along with our dreams to get the farm back up and running for the next generation. And they offered us to sell us the land. We were so excited to finally have it as our own. Summer came, and we had our first hay season. Much of Missouri had a drought this year, but we were blessed with a good harvest, and that fertilizer in the spring really helped. We sold hay to several farms all over the state, and after months, it was nice to have our first paycheck. Today is a very exciting day on the ranch. We got our first load of cattle. We purchased our first herd of stocker beef cows. We were excited to finally be in the cattle market. This had been a big dream of Jacob's from the moment we decided to move back. We plan to do stockers for over the next couple years while we get things up and running for our cow-calf operation and our breeding program.
As you can see, I have some very curious ladies that are wanting to know what I'm doing.
We continued to work over the summer and into the fall on our tiny house. The siding needed replaced, and once fall arrived, we decided to turn the small portion of the barn we had left as a shop into a living room. This would give us a little more space over the winter. We went from 400 square feet to 650, and we felt like we were living large. Fall brought deer season on the farm, and Jacob and our son were able to go hunting together for the very first time, and they harvested 2 deer for our freezer. We learned how to tan the hide and preserve the antlers as well. Our largest fall project was cleaning and replacing the old fence rows. Jacob's mom said she had lived on the farm for over 50 years and they've never had new fences. Some of them were in such bad shape they couldn't even be repaired enough to keep cattle in. We have to replace them if we ever plan to expand our cattle operation. Winter came, and we celebrated the holidays living near family for the first time in over a decade. I even had room to put up the Christmas tree in the tiny house expansion. We prepared the house and the animals for the cold winter. As we complete this first year back on the farm, we can't imagine a life anywhere else. I look back on our first year and I can't help but think about the original Kelley family who settled here on this property in 1919. I wonder what their first year building was like. I wonder if they had the same hopes, dreams, and struggles that we do today. And I wonder if they had any idea that over 100 years later, their legacy would live on. I hope that we can make them proud. And Dad, I hope we're making you proud too. Get ready, 2024, because the journey has just begun.